Hello everyone, my name is Roy Schar. I'm owner of Excel Geothermal AC and Heat. I've been installing geothermal air conditioning systems since 1997, and today I'm here to answer some geothermal questions. Carl says, just bought a house with geothermal, need advice. So his question is, I have a 13-year-old 4-ton water furnace, likely Premier. Premier is the brand of the water furnace, or the series of the water furnace unit, with a pump well, 90 foot, 20 GPM flow, 15 GPM pump. The house is 1,900 square feet with a small basement. All right, so one of his questions is a 4-ton unit adequate for the size of my home? Another question that he has is, does it help with the humidity in the summer, or do I need a dehumidifier? And his last question is, how well does it work in negative 22-degree weather? So I'm looking at his information, and the system is 13 years old. So I'm going to assume, because I don't have more information than that, I'm going to assume that the 4-ton water furnace Premier unit has been working well for 13 years, because if it wasn't working well, they probably would have taken it out or done something different. The well being 90 foot in depth, then looks like it can provide 20 GPM, which is gallons per minute flow, but there's a pump on it that actually provides 15 gallons per minute. The 4-ton unit has a capacity of about 48,000 BTUs, which on the water flow, it needs about 3 gallons per ton, which is about 12 gallons per minute, GPMs. And he says that the pump puts out about 15, so it pushes a little bit more than necessary, so I think all that works. So if the house is working properly, if the geothermal system is working properly and it's been installed for 13 years and the pump works and it seems like the depth of the well is good, the depth of the well is important. Being 90 feet deep, it provides warm water. So it can provide warmer water than his last question. It says, does it work well in 22-degree weather? So if the water coming from the ground is, say, in the mid 50s or 60s, then it can provide a lot of heat for the geothermal heat pump. So the questions are, is a 4-ton unit adequate for my size of my home? So I'm not sure where this is located, but if they get down to 22 degrees, negative 22 degrees, it's probably somewhere up north where it's seems it's really cold. But there's a lot of factors as far as if the size of the 4-ton is accurate. There's always in a house, it depends on how well the construction is, how old the house is. Is it insulated properly? Does it have good tight windows and doors? Do the doors close well when you close them? The windows, are they sealed properly when you close them? Things like that matter in a home. Depends on how many windows. There are some homes that are, this one's 1,900 square feet. It's a good sized house, but does it have really, really tall vaulted areas? Is it 2-story? Those are a lot of factors that go into figuring out if the air conditioning is sized properly for the house. But with the knowledge that I have, if the house were here in Dallas, where I'm located, then a 4-ton unit would be adequate. The next question is, does it help with humidity in summer, or do I need a dehumidifier? So geothermal systems are just like conventional AC systems. Their primary work, what they actually do is dehumidify. That's really what air conditioning system is. So air passes through the AC system, and as it passes through the air coil, which is cold, it actually removes humidity. So there's a lot of condensation that comes off in that air coil, and the air passes through drier. As it's doing that, it removes heat as well. In the summertime, to answer the question, is the geothermal systems are good for dehumidification. Next question is from Pat. He says, howdy, my wife and I toured a home with 2 geothermal heat pumps, and I have some questions as a first-time geo user. One unit is 20 years old. What's the typical lifespan? So I've seen some geothermal systems that are 35 years old. I'd say a typical lifespan of a geothermal system should be around 20 to 30 years. And I say should be because there are some factors. First, just like anything that's manufactured, like a car, right? You might have like a Kia and it lasts a long, long time because it's built good. It might have the same Kia that maybe in the manufacturing process didn't get put together quite well, so it had some problems and the lifespan was shorter. If the system is installed properly and is maintenance properly, yeah, you should get 20 to 30 years of life out of a geothermal system. The next question is, assuming the underground piping, the underground pipes are reused, which that is in every system, and they are always reused. How does replacement cost compare to a traditional air source heat pump? The comparison is actually pretty similar depending on what you compare it to. Let's just say you get a comparison of a geothermal unit replacement and a air source heat pump replacement. So if you buy a really cheap bottom of the line, just a basic air source heat pump, those are not very expensive. Now I think it's like 16 or 17 SEER is the base unit you can buy. Let's say a 17 SEER air source heat pump with just a regular basic air handler with heat strips, that's one cost. And let's give that a cost of, let's say, $10,000 for an example, right? If you look at a high-end conventional or traditional air source heat pump, something like a 25 SEER, then you could say that would cost around, let's say, instead of $10,000, that may cost $18,000 or $20,000. On a geothermal system, the base geothermal system is around a 27 SEER. There's also some variables if you do single speed or dual speed. Even the high-end traditional air source heat pump doesn't compare to the base geothermal. But if you compared, let's say, the high-end conventional air source heat pump to the base geothermal heat pump, that base geothermal heat pump may cost $22,000, $25,000 to replace. If you were to compare really good air source equipment to decent geothermal equipment, I'd say the costs are almost the same to replace because of what you mentioned on the first part of the question is if the pipes are reused, in which typically the geothermal piping is typically always reused. So sometimes it's replaced if the homeowner was wanting it, but it's complicated to replace those, but typically no one ever does that. There's another factor when it comes to cost is the tax credit, which exists now, 30%. So if the factor of a regular air source, a traditional air source heat pumps, let's say you have a real high end, it costs you $20,000 to replace that one, and then you have a geothermal system or a geothermal unit that you want to buy, say a base that's say $23,000. So if you consider the tax credit at 30%, and that 30%, I'm gonna guess it's probably like $8,000, somewhere around there. That tax credit brings that geothermal unit to $15,000, in which the traditional air source heat pump does not have the tax credit. So at the end of the day, if you do all the math properly, the geothermal replacement will cost you less than replacing a high-end air source heat pump. That's all the time we have today for questions. I want to thank everybody who submitted their questions. Thank you to all the people who are interested in geothermal. Thank you to all the people who are watching these videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help our channel. It'll help us to be able to, as far as the YouTube algorithms, to get these out in front of you. So thank you for your support.